Hey, welcome in for another episode of Two Daves and a Mike. I'm David Allen, DA, along with David Allen, D. Ray, and Michael Allen, the Allen boys. And Two Daves and a Mike returned from Farmingdale, New York for the Ryder Cup over the weekend. We did see the Saturday rounds, and we have survived plane trips back and forth, shuttle trips from the parking lot back and forth, and rental car around the outskirts of New York City. So we are back and doing well. Hope you had a chance to check our Ryder Cup episode out from the other night. If you hadn't, it's worth a listen. If you are, especially if you are a golf fan or Ryder Cup fan, but back at it, and another big weekend in college football, another big weekend in the NFL. The Major League Baseball playoffs are set. We had a good time realizing that our favorite, and we're kidding, division rival, the New York Mets, stumped their toe most of the second half and missed the playoffs on the last day of the season. And then we're upset because the Miami Marlins or the Florida Marlins, whatever they go by now, we're celebrating after the game. So you got to love that. Sorry, Mets fans, Todd Suarez, Mark Osborne, you guys fill in the blanks.
You guys, us? Fill in the blanks?
Yeah, who else? Who else?
Mets fans?
Who are the other Mets fans we need to say sorry to?
I was not an intuitive fill in the blank, I don't think. Frank the Tank, I guess. I mean, he I can't say I'm super sorry for him. Sean Fennessy of the Big Picture Pod. I don't know. Mike, you got any Mets fans in your life?
Former client of mine, his name is Eric. Eric, if I post this on LinkedIn and you somehow happen to stumble upon this podcast, first of all, go away now. You'll never think of me the same. It was a great way to chit chat at the beginning of calls, though. I have this terrible tendency of only being able to create small talk around like the same three things. Right now with my clients, that thing is weather. I just like have to talk to you about whatever weather I'm observing or whether I briefly Google to see what you could be observing in your area. So that's terrible. I will also, bring up other topics from time to time, but with Eric specifically, I would bring up baseball because I knew he was a Mets fan. So shout out Eric if you're listening.
You gotta love it. All right, so with the teams that did, I'm sorry, you gotta love it is what I said there.
That's what we're putting on the t-shirts, the 2 days in a mic t-shirts for sure.
Absolutely. All right, so with the baseball playoffs set, who you got? Mike, who you got? We'll start with you. Because
I'm trying to mute myself because that's what David Ray has instructed me to do. Apparently, for our good listeners, the recurring problem is that you can hear my fingers typing as I'm here on the pod. So I'm trying to do better about it. That's why I didn't talk there for a second, but then also because I was shaking my head no. I don't really feel prepared to make a pick. So if David Ray, if I filibustered long enough to where you feel like you have a World Series pick, then go ahead. I'm going to need a second just to think about it.
Okay. I'm going to take the Chicago Cubs out of the National League, which is a bit of a surprise because they are still in the wild card round. They won today, so they're up 1-0 on the Padres. I don't really know why, other than that it's just vibes. The best team very rarely makes the World Series, it feels like. And there's something around the Cubs this year that makes me think they will make a run in the National League. Excuse me. In the American League, give me rising from the ashes like a phoenix, the Detroit Tigers, who absolutely blew it up to end the season, coming back. Give me a Midwest showdown between the Chicago Cubs and the Detroit Tigers. Neither of them are the best team in their league, but I think they both have a good combination of elite starting pitching at the top with a good pin and a good lineup. They're not very top heavy. For instance, I like both those lineups 1 through 9. I like multiple arms. So I don't think it's the Dodgers' year, and I think the Yankees and Mariners both are a little too weak. they both have their faults. So yeah, I'm going to go Tigers Cubs.
All right. Well, that's an interesting combo, especially the Detroit Tigers after they basically blew a 14.5 game lead to the Guardians and basically had to slide in the back door. But we'll see what happens. Mike, did he go on long enough for you to come up with a
Yeah.
pick?
Yeah, I think speaking of the Guardians there, that's who I will take out of the American League. Hot team got there. We'll see if they can stay hot. I feel like that's one of the things that the playoffs and specifically in baseball seems to come down to every season is
Lost
who can
today,
start.
so already in an elimination game tomorrow. But hey, we'll take it.
Well, I mean, here you go. I mean, do we play series or is a loss today mean that they're a bad team?
It's a best 2 out of 3. So I'm saying they're all tomorrow. They play for their season. That's all I'm saying.
All right. Well, thanks for saying it. If I could, I'll continue with my take here. That I'll go ahead and. Well, I mean, what are we doing here? Like, are we making picks or are we not?
Take.
Like, are we making taking picks? You just picked a 6 seed. Like, who's won a single game in the playoffs, and now you're like, well, they're the best team in the playoffs because they won one game, and that's what it's all about. Stupid, bro. Yeah, so I'll take the Guardians, and then I'll take the Brewers. Brewers have been hot, so we'll see if they can stay hot. But David Ray, what's wrong with that? Because because it sounds like you know what's going to happen already. So why don't you just tell us?
I said nothing about the Brewers. They're a great team.
No, I was just opening it up because it felt like it was your turn to criticize after I talked.
I think what this is this is a 24-hour plus removed from us spending a lot of time together.
Yeah, I'm sick of you guys.
All right, so I'm gonna take the Blue Jays in the American League, and I think I'm gonna take. Were you shaking
Dad,
your head? Yep.
Yeah,
Huh?
Dad. Don't you know? Don't you know the Blue Jays aren't going to win the World Series? I can't believe you'd say that. That's the worst. Yeah.
And I'm gonna stick with the front runner in the NL, and I'm going to take the Dodgers. I think they have underperformed, but they have spent the money to have guys that will perform at this time of year. So I'm going to go Blue Jays, Dodgers. Not crazy about the pick because I don't like the Dodgers, but needless to say, we'll see what happens. Quickly turning our attention to fantasy football before we get into college and pro football. Noah of the pod asked us a couple of weeks ago when he filled in for D-Ray to make sure we gave an update of our current situations in our fantasy leagues, and we have yet to do that since he was on with us that night. So happy to say that my Kenwood Cadavers in the Manly League have bounced back from an 0-2 start to 2-2 on the season, and in the BAFL, my Golden Lions are over. I should have won this week, but I was late on the plane checking my starting lineups, and Terry McLaurin, who was a late scratch for the Commanders, ended up starting for me. I lost by 5 points. I had 4 different guys on my bench that would have scored enough for me to win that game. So had I made a switch out there, I would be 1-3, but I'm not. I'm 0-4. And Michael's 4-0 in that league. Michael, what's the rest of your leagues looking like right now?
Well, I went 4-2 this week, so I'm in 6 leagues. I did not do my homework on this topic to be able to tell you how everything went in each of those leagues. I do think that my worst record right now is 2-2, which I am in 2 leagues. But
that's a good start then.
Yeah, I'm 4-0 in the BAFL, which I'm proud of right now. That's a good squad. They actually look better week over week, so we'll see if I can keep it up.
How about you, D-Ray?
2-2 or better in the 6 right now, but it's not looking good. A lot of injuries, which I don't want to step on my cell, but I'll talk about that later. Just banged up already, and that's part of the deal with fantasy football. But I feel like I lost neighbors in a few leagues this week, and a couple other guys to long-term injuries. So banged up at 2-2 already. Looking at where I'm going to need to buy.
Gotcha. All right. So with that fantasy report behind us, let's talk college football. You want to do winners and losers this week on college football?
I mean, sure. I think we unfortunately missed a decent amount of it because of being at the Ryder Cup. I'll give my can I just pick one winner or loser? How's that?
Sure. Yeah.
I'm gonna go with the loser of the security team who was at the Florida State UVA game. That's the quickest field rush I've ever seen in my life. I understand that it's going to happen, but the security team did they step away and let it happen? Um, Legit surprised that nobody ended up hurt. I'm not trying to sound like an old man because like I don't care if the students rush the field. Like more power to them. That pass was barely incomplete before there were 1,000 kids on the field. So that's my loser. And also, tangentially, Florida State obviously losing that game. There was a chance this week Florida State Miami was going to be a big bash between in-state rivals, undefeated in the ACC. Potentially, like a loser is now not going to be able to go to Charlotte for the ACC tournament, and we lose that. So you look at the ACC schedule this week, and now it's Miami at 3 and Florida State at 18 instead of like a 3 versus 9 matchup. So an interesting game there on Friday night. Wild things seem to happen on Friday night in college football.
Yeah, big time.
David Ray, I don't think that's an old man take about the field rushing. I actually think I mean I couldn't agree more, and I think that they should be ashamed of themselves. I genuinely think that we need to put an end to that before someone like seriously like dies or gets like seriously injured, and then we have to. So,
Dad, could I actually give one quick
before.
loser as well? One more quick one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or whatever we're doing. There was a chance earlier this season that UNC Clemson on Saturday was going to be the biggest game in UNC's program history if they were undefeated going up against a really good Clemson team and Belichick had turned the program around. Instead, it's been moved to 12 o'clock, and because of the excitement around the program this year, we're doing a concerts on the lawn for the first time, and that means that Ludacris is going to perform at 9:45 a.m. in Chapel Hill. And for that, I'm going to give Ludacris as a loser because that's a real. When he signed that deal, he was not thinking he was going to be taking Polk Place at 9:45 in the morning. So,
all right, and let me say this as an old man. I know Ludacris essentially from like I think I could probably come up with one song that Ludacris is a part of, and that's the "Yeah" song from Usher. Um, But otherwise, I know Ludacris from the
That's
10
right.
or 12 Fast
That's
and the
right.
Furious movies that we've seen. I got nothing for a 9:45 Polk Place concert on Ludacris. So bless him is all I can say. So
Yeah, bless him. Is all you can say there. Speaking of Sir Ludacris, who does go to the moon.
yes,
I
he
don't.
does. Outer space, not the moon. He goes to outer
Yeah,
space.
I should say, but he like goes to outer space in like a Camaro or something.
Yes.
Like I don't remember
Yes.
what it is.
Yes.
That's like a true like this thing's gotten ridiculous part of the Fast and Furious 9 or whatever film that is. Man, winner or loser right here. I'm gonna give you a winner, and that is Oregon. Oregon at Penn State in what's the name of that town? State College.
Yeah.
In State College at the whiteout game, probably one of the toughest environments that you're going to get outside of a bowl game or playoff game scenario, and they showed up. I think that kind of affirms what we may have been thinking for a couple of weeks about that Oregon team. They look real good. I think they come out as a winner this week.
Yeah, to me and I have not followed closely enough Penn State in the whiteout game, so I know this is a way overdue take, honestly. But you said they traditionally wear their dark uniforms at home, and that's what they wear on the whiteout game. That's a bad take. That's a loser take right there. They need to be in there all white, but it doesn't matter. They got beat, and tough loss for Penn State. My loser of the week, NC State. Dave Doran is now on all the NC State Twitter accounts talking about he's going to retire at the end of the year because State can't afford to fire him and all this, that, and the other. But, they started 3-0 and everybody was high on what was going on in Raleigh with Coach Doran. And maybe, this was going to be his year when nobody expected it. Carolina faltering. Duke lost a couple of games early. Wake Forest has not been relevant in the last couple of years. So it was looking like they were going to be the big four stud daddies, and they're back to being Dave Doran-led NC State with a tough loss to Virginia Tech, who is without a head coach. So that's my loser of the week. Winner of the week, I said this on Armchair Quarterback earlier today, I'm going with Carolina. I mean, they didn't play this week. So there was no bashing of Bill Belichick or Jordan, his girl, on the sidelines, or anything going on with Carolina football, which has been a bit of a train wreck. And so just for that quietness, I'm going to say that's my winner of the week. I will say Alabama over Georgia was a surprise to me, especially given the fact that Alabama had already lost a couple of ball games and they were trying to run Kalen DeBoer out of town. So that's a good win for Alabama for sure. And I think that's about it for my thoughts on college football for this week. You guys, either one? I know, Michael, you were hopeful that your boys were going to hold up a little bit against Boise State. They did rally in the first half to go from 21 or 24 down to get it to 24, 27, 14. But then second half, it was all Boise State.
Yeah, unfortunately so. I also do just want to take a moment to express just another reason why I hate AI. And that is because I was curious if there was any historical context for why Penn State doesn't wear white on the whiteout game other than because they wear navy blue at home. So I searched it and it says that it's because it makes it easier for the coaches and players to tell that they're coaches and players. I suppose, and not fans. I don't know. I think that's a really bad AI hallucination there. So I'm out. I'm out on that. Yeah, tough loss by the Mountaineers. Tough opponent in Boise State, but it's exactly the kind of team that we want to be able to beat, and this is just not the year for that, unfortunately. So we'll get them. We'll get them next time, should there ever be one.
Dad, the bad news for the Tar Heels this week is that yesterday on Dan Le Batard's show, Pablo Torre made an appearance to talk about his latest Pablo Torre Finds Out episode, and someone, Mike Ryan, said the real winner of this podcast is UNC because you've turned your attention away from the Tar Heels to focus on the Clippers. True. And Pablo said, let's just say I haven't emptied my file yet on Belichick and what's going on at UNC. So now we just await the next Pablo Torre Finds Out bomb on the heels.
Did you listen to the latest episode of PTFO, David Ray?
I ended up getting an hour of it on Le Batard's show, so I got the watered down version, but quite the revelation.
Again, I feel like we could carve out a segment that's called "Tell Pablo How Good He Is" on this pod. Genuinely, I am blown away at the reporting that he's doing, and I'm very, very interested in what Adam Silver and the NBA are going to end up doing about this, because I think that it is getting to the point, from the fan perspective at least, that they are going to have to do something, and it is going to be really interesting. So,
yeah, I don't disagree with you. Interesting to see what Pablo, how this is going to finish up with the reporting and the timing of it. The Clippers have the All-Star game coming to them this year, so a lot of people think they're gonna wait it out. So we'll see.
The saddest part about this whole Pablo Torre reporting thing is that everybody used to do that. David Allen used to do that when he worked for the Shelby Star 40 years ago. I mean, that's the thing. There was a time in this country in sports where there were actually journalism school graduates working at newspapers and magazines and television stations all across this country. And they actually did reporting on stuff that was happening in their local market. And all of that has basically gone away at this point. And now, you know, I hate to say it because here we are doing the same thing as far as a podcast, but now it's all about let's do a podcast, let's get some clicks, let's do this and that. And
Yeah.
so kudos to Pablo for actually finding some people that would sponsor him to do it like he wants to do it. But unfortunately, that could be a sale for this week too. But we'll move on. Let's go to the NFL. Interesting things that happened this weekend. First of all, my Cowboys, a 40-40 tie against the Green Bay Packers. What's more interesting about that than the tie is that the Cowboys have gone to overtime twice now on the season in 4 weeks, tied at 37 apiece. That's unbelievable. They beat the New York Giants in overtime 40-37. They tied the Green Bay Packers. And the Cowboys should have won that game. They had first and goal at the 4-yard line in overtime and managed to kick a field goal. Yes, sir.
Dad, if you were Jerry Jones, let's say the Kansas City Chiefs, Harrison Butker goes down, and the front office calls you. Would you give? You're thinking I'm gonna be hyperbolic. Would you give up Brendan Aubrey for a first round pick?
No. Brandon
I
Aubrey for the Cowboys would be like John Casey was for the Panthers, like Justin Tucker was for the Baltimore Ravens, a 13, 14, 15, 16-year guy. He's going to be with the Cowboys till 2040. So I'm not taking a first round pick for him. No chance.
Okay, all right. Sorry, we proceed.
Yeah, no, that's it. And then I'll say to Michael, last week we thought the Panthers were, finally showed up and had some defense, and finally showed up, and Bryce looked decent, and finally showed up with a little bit of a running game, and then all of a sudden they go to New England, and granted, New England is one of those young teams with Drake May at quarterback and the Henderson kid at running back that we thought, might start making some noise this year, but they have lost already this season a couple of games they lost to the Raiders, I think, on opening weekend. Holy cow, the Raiders woodshedded the Panthers over the weekend. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, that's not good. I was obviously hoping that we had kind of turned a little mini corner last week. And, honestly, I think that a lot of what we saw 2 weeks ago is what we saw at the end of last season for the Panthers. And so there was a lot of reason to hope that maybe we had turned a bit of a corner. It turns out that it wasn't the case. I'm not going to pretend to have seen any of that game. I was locked into the Ryder Cup, so I have really no other punditry to provide regarding the Panthers fall apart. But I mean, we hope for next week. I at this point, I don't know. At this point, I guess you just give it the rest of the season. I don't know why we shake up any sort of front office. Personally, at this point, I think you just give it the season and then we see what happens. But yeah, not good.
D-Ray, on the flip side of his Panthers were your Patriots, which you kind of got away from the Patriots when TB left, but that's been your squad for most of your life. So what are your thoughts on Drake May and the Patriots?
Yeah, I'm kind of at a crossroads because I'm like, I don't know how I feel. It's just I because Drake May's there, I'm hanging on with the Pats. I think May looks great, and that's the most important thing. At this point, if you want to win a Super Bowl, if you want to make a deep run in the NFL, you have to have a young quarterback add value. And right now, Drake May looks like that. He's still a little inconsistent. I said this on Big Hitters yesterday. I'm hoping that he adds a little muscle to the frame even more and starts running the football a little bit like his counterpart in the AFC East, Josh Allen. So I'm I'm feeling good about the Pats. They don't have a horrible schedule. They took care of the Panthers at home, which is what they should do. I'm going to stay on the NFL and ask you guys a question that I heard today that it kind of blew my mind a little bit, which is, do the Atlanta Falcons ever not play at home? Have you ever seen the Atlanta Falcons play a road game? And I was like, hold on a second. It
Bro,
does
that's
feel
so
like
true.
the Falcons play 17 games at home.
That's so
Anyway,
true.
The Falcons, interesting this week because of the trivia, like you said, from last week, of the Panthers shutting them out, and then they get blown out the next week, and the Falcons they host the Commanders and end up winning 34-27. Now, obviously, the Commanders are still without Jaden Daniels, but offensively, they had some more firepower. Bijan got going in the running game, Drake London going, my boy Kyle Pitts got going. So the NFC South after the Bucks is a lot of question marks. And if you look across the NFC, it's as weird as this sounds, it's a much better conference right now than the AFC. In the AFC, you feel really good about the Bills, and then who else? I would say you felt good about the Chargers. They lost to the Giants this week. You think the Ravens are going to turn it around, but they're 1-3. You know, the Steelers are 3-1. None of us would bet our lives on them winning 11 games this year. Maybe you feel good about the Colts, but so I think the AFC right now is the Bills, and then a lot of, and in the NFC, obviously we like the Eagles, we like the Lions. I still like the Packers, even though that was an interesting game with the Cowboys. And right now, the Rams are looking like one of those teams that they might sleepwalk to 11-6, and then you're not going to want to see them in the playoffs, because when McVay has this team going and he has a good defense, that's not a fun team to play. So you did not ask a question. I just went with that. But that's kind of the state of the NFL right now, I think.
I will keep it going and just saying that I observed what I believe to be the worst loss of the season so far that happened this past week. And I genuinely think that it's the Ravens' loss to the Chiefs. I think that I have been reading into a narrative. Maybe nobody else was thinking this, that the Ravens had a tough beginning of their schedule and they were going to get it together, and that this was the end of the Chiefs dynasty, that we were seeing the fall apart of the Chiefs, that they haven't looked like the same old Chiefs that they had to start the season. And to show up and lose by 17, I do not think is what you want to see from the Ravens. As David Ray mentioned, they both came into that game 1-2. And the Ravens are now 1-3. I don't think that's a good sign at all. I'm calling it the worst loss of the season, but I'm using that as a way to predict the future, and I think that's bad news for the Ravens. But we'll see.
All right, a couple comments about that game in particular. The Chiefs did get Xavier Worthy back on Sunday, and he made that offense look completely different. He was not only the leading pass receiver in that game, but he was also the leading rusher in that game for Kansas City, and basically did that, I think, on 2 carries. I think he had a 35 and like a 3-yard carry. I think he only had 38 yards. So their running game is still atrocious, but Xavier Worthy adds an element there for the Chiefs that the ESPN crew was all about all summer long, and then they started 1-2. So I think Xavier Worthy back for the Chiefs is a positive sign for them moving forward. As far as the Ravens are concerned, they are just absolutely beat up on defense. Very similar to the Lions that ended last season. They've got 7 starters currently out due to injury. They're going to get most of those guys. I think 5 out of the 7 are going to come back at some point during the season. And so, unlike the Cowboys, whose defense is 100% healthy at this point, I think the Ravens do stand a chance to actually get better on defense. But Lamar Jackson going down late in that game and is probably going to miss a couple of weeks does not help them. They really need to win both of the games they have coming up before the bye, and they may not win either one of them without Lamar if he doesn't play. So keep your eye on the Ravens. They have been, I saw even a question they were asking this morning on ESPN is, did their Super Bowl window close, or has it closed, or is it closing? And I think it's too early to tell, because everything they do on ESPN is all about, oh my gosh, what's happened this week kind of a thing. I think we got to wait and see on the Ravens. But definitely the Chiefs with Xavier Worthy back did look better over the weekend.
I'm wondering. I'm going to read some names to you guys. Okay, you agree with me? Does this running back have some juice? Like just excites you in some way? Okay, Bucky
Ready?
Irving.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, right. Obviously. Okay. Isaac Garindo from the 49ers. Remember when he popped a little bit last year before he tore his ACL?
Yeah, I would say
Okay.
no.
You would say no. Okay. All right.
Yeah, I would say no.
Devon Achan,
Yes.
Chase Brown of the Bengals.
Yes.
Let me just I'll give you one more. Let's go with Jerome Ford from the Browns or Kyron Williams from the Rams.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
These are running backs who were drafted in the 3rd through 6th round the last 3 years that you can just take flyers on. And the Chiefs drafted Pacheco in the 7th round, but in the Mahomes era, they haven't drafted any other running backs. And I don't understand why they keep being like, let's bring Kareem Hunt back when the easiest thing to do is in the 6th round draft Chris Rodriguez for the Commanders, who, if you watched him at all on Sunday, is like running rampant like. I'm not saying you're going to find some generational running back, but I don't know why the Chiefs refuse to just take a dart throw on someone in the 7th round like they did with Pacheco. That could just be something because they don't have a good running game, and it's what Worthy is able to do down the field to stretch the field. A good running game would also help, and I don't know why they don't. I don't know why they keep just saying, "Let's see what if Kareem Hunt has 100 more, carries in him this year." So
Well,
that's a personal frustration.
well, and to be fair, they did take a high draft pick on Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and he did not pan out. He had a decent rookie season, and then ever since then, he got hurt, and they brought in Kareem Hunt, and that's why Kareem Hunt has been back with them now. Seems like for about 5 years because
Point taken.
Edwards-Helaire didn't work out. So, all right. So NFL is, it's week 4, and there's already a lot going on. I think. D-Ray, your sell or your buys coming up is going to hit at some of the injuries, so we'll wait for that. But with that being said, let's move into that segment. And since you're kind of hinted at that, we'll let you start us off.
I'm just selling the ACL ligament in general. I know it's important. It's a crucial part of the knee. I don't know, obviously Tommy John is at this point as rampant of an injury in baseball as the ACL is in football. But the worst thing in the world is getting the notification that your player is being carted off and that it doesn't look pretty. And I had neighbors in Hill go down that I had in a few leagues, and it just seems like at this point, here's a quick list, Ayuk, Diggs, Jalen Phillips, Malik Neighbors, Nick Bosa, Tyreek Hill. That's 6 guys who have torn ACLs in the last, 10 games, basically dating back to last year. And obviously, that's not like that high of a sample, or that's not that high of a number compared to all the players in the NFL. But there are obviously several guys who play non-fantasy sports positions who tear ACLs that we don't get push notifications for. So it sucks. I feel like we're losing these guys more than ever. I know that apparently, specifically, MetLife Field in New York has a major issue with as it pertains to ACL tears, and I don't know why they won't change the turf out there. But what a bummer! I'm selling the ACL ligament, or I guess it's redundant because L and ACL stands for ligament, but whatever.
There you go. All right, Michael, what's your buy or sell this week?
This week, I'm going to be buying. Now, this may come as a surprise to specifically the two of you. I don't know how it could, but I am buying the Cleveland Guardians. They got Stephen Kwan out there. They got J Ram over at third. I am all in on these boys. There may be some haters who say they are out of contention because they've lost a game, but I'm buying the Guardians. I like what they've got cooking, and let's go have a good postseason. What do you say?
Mike, give me somebody on that rotation.
Dude, that is the weakest buy sale that Mike has had in the 30-something episodes of Two Daves and a Mike.
I had to write it down. By the way, David Ray, cousin Logan is in that rotation. So we've got
I'm a
Logan Allen.
psychopath, and I play in a fantasy baseball league that's a dynasty league. So I have 15 minor league players on my roster. I have Chase DeLauder on the Guardians, who for some reason they called up to their 26-man roster and is making his MLB debut. I mean, he might have made it today. I don't know. As a pinch hitter. So that was bold. I was like, wow, this kid, he's been lighting up in AAA, but you would think if you had any thoughts of putting him on the 26 man, you'd call him up in September. So maybe he'll make a run, and my boy DeLauder will make some impact for your Guardians.
No, I mean, here's the thing though, for real. I keep doing this thing where I feel like I wrote this one down. I'm legit like coming up with all of these buys or sells, and then I'm just losing them. So just to be honest, like I forgot about buy or sell, and I showed up tonight ready to have to look for something, and then David Ray hated on me, and I used that as my op. So
there you go. You gotta love it. Well, I'm going to hang on to the Ryder Cup for one more buy or sell, and I am going to sell, just in general, the drama of the weekend. And when I say the drama, I'm talking about all the fanfare that has been brought about in terms of the boorish behavior of the fans at the Ryder Cup. I think what that overshadowed on Friday and Saturday was that the European team was absolutely whipping our tail in every side way and, whatever. And it got overlooked because of the, again, quote unquote behavior of the fans. And then what gets overlooked on Sunday is almost the historic comeback. And I understand that the U.S. didn't pull it off, so therefore it wasn't a historic comeback. But the U.S. almost pulled off an unbelievable win on Sunday. And again, overshadowed by this complete, everybody, every media outlet in the country, people that didn't have a clue about the Ryder Cup talking about it over the weekend. And I'm not saying that there were things not said that shouldn't have been said and all that kind of stuff. I'm just saying it took away from 2 days of the Europeans playing some of the best golf, and then 1 day of an almost miraculous comeback by the U.S. And all of that was overshadowed by the nonsense that was, or in our case, we say wasn't as bad as everybody made it out to be. And I don't take away from the knuckleheads that were being knuckleheads at all, because there were some, and we talked about that specifically Sunday night on our special pod. But anyway, and also it's just frustrating, I think, from that standpoint, because it was a great event and we enjoyed it. And that's going to lead us into our draft tonight, because I think it was D-Ray who said, quote, it was a bucket list event on over the weekend at the Ryder Cup. So that's going to be our draft tonight. We are going to go with bucket list sporting events. Bucket list sporting events. And I think we didn't say, but I say 3 rounds on this one, guys. And if we have some OLI, we'll do it. But do we have any idea how the draft went out, how it came down last week, and who's going to get first dibs today?
I do, and I do just want to say quickly on the Ryder Cup that we obviously were there in person, then watched it the other 2 days, and that while being in person was challenging to keep up with what was happening, so was watching it on TV because of how bad the coverage was at times. We were asking for down the stretch, could someone please, for the love of God, show us what's happening in any of the bottom 4 matches that this could come down to? Data Golf said that Ben Griffin and Rasmus Højgaard had the worst 2 rounds on the course. So Ben Griffin would have lost to anybody but Rasmus Højgaard. We would have never known that because they weren't showing us the matches. And so that's one frustration. NBC has been terrible for years when they cut with golf. And again, it's like, I understand wanting to watch the matches as they come down the stretch, but we gotta do better. So Dad, you won last week overwhelmingly with 53% of the vote. As a reminder,
Nice.
you drafted Steve Harvey, Wayne Brady, Jeff Probst, and John Stewart, which is so interesting because it feels very average to me. I'm not saying that mine was better, but like it doesn't stand out to me as like a runaway winner. But you did with over 50% of the vote. So
I think there's this thing that I want to communicate to the audience, which is that I think that when I'm drafting my team, it's not literal. Okay, I don't want Oprah bringing the ball up the court, but I need the spirit of Oprah bringing the ball up the court, and that's what I need you people to align with me on. I think David Ray, are you on the same page as me there?
I thought I knew what you were going to say, and I would say something slightly different, which is that Dad is unable to
Yes, I
step
completely
outside
agree.
of the idea of winning the draft and just have fun with the draft. Like when we did the offensive line draft, he went and found the actor who played Michael Orr. That's not the spirit of the draft. The spirit of the draft is to find someone hilarious to put
Right.
on your celebrity offensive line. And Dad's like, y'all are not gonna beat me because I have somebody who literally could have played left tackle. Okay, like point taken.
He
Dude,
drafted the
draft
Yoko
John
Ono or
Taffer.
whatever.
Yeah, come on. So I mean,
All right, I tell you what, I will loosen up in that regard, but you gotta give me the yes please guys from Max
that was
Keeble's English.
that was better. That was a good pick. I will say that was better. And can I
Hey,
give one deep cut?
by the way, it did not come out of my mouth, but when we were standing there on the fourth green on Saturday, like some two guys in Swedish yellow jerseys came like bullying up against us. Like we had been standing there for 2 hours saving our spot, and all of a sudden these two big blonde guys come in and try to take space away from us, and it was all I could do not to say
Yes,
yes,
please.
Hey, this is for Michael and Michael only. Nobody else is gonna get this. I was actually telling somebody about the drafts that we do today, and I got to that one, and I thought of a very deep cut. Do you remember the really big fella on Boy Meets World who protected a
Yeah,
young man?
absolutely.
What was that guy's name?
His name, I can't remember his name, but he is also in somebody help me here.
I don't know, but sorry, that
The
was a
film
deep cut.
the film with Denzel. Denzel's the coach of Remember the Titans. Thank you.
Oh, he is. Okay, yeah.
He's also in Remember the Titans. I don't remember his name, but he runs with the Bully crew. But he's a sweetheart.
Yeah, he was big enough in Boy Meets World to play left tackle and left guard. He could have filled both positions
absolutely.
for sure. So
Absolutely.
Oh, by the way, another example of Dad with this is like I drafted the twin dragons for the PBS draft in Zaboomafoo, and Dad was out here drafting real human beings. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
But whatever. Alas, so Dad, do you want first pick?
I'll loosen it up. How about that? I'll loosen it up.
All
Yeah,
right.
I'm gonna take first pick. Yeah, I'm gonna take first pick.
All right, Michael, you want second or third?
I'll do whatever.
All right, I'll put you in the 2 hole then, and then I will go last. All right, so bucket list sporting events. My only clarification question, or maybe not question, is just I'm not going to draft anything that I've been to. So, like, I'm not going to draft the Ryder Cup unless y'all think
That's
that
up
we
for
should.
that's up to you. If that's not on your bucket list, then it is what it is.
Well, it
All
was on his bucket list, and now it's not.
Yeah.
All right,
Dad.
the only thing that I'm going to say is I'm going to qualify my pick by saying like who the team is. If it's a game, it's like who the team and what are the circumstances. So
I think that's fair.
It's not just necessarily I'm going to go to Game 7 of the World Series, but I'm going to the Game 7 of the World Series when the Braves beat the Yankees, and I'm going to start that as my number one pick. I want to be at the World Series, and it doesn't have to be in Atlanta. It can be at Yankee Stadium. Actually, Yankee Stadium would probably be better. I'm going to take the Yankees at Yankee Stadium in Game 7 with the Braves walking it off. Let's go.
That's not going to fit on the Instagram post.
But that's all right. We'll just say World Series.
Yeah, Game 7 World Series
Game
Braves.
7 World Series. There you go.
We have to exercise the demons.
They can't walk it off. They can't walk it off. They can't walk it off in New York anyway. So
we'll just say
they win the game. They win the game.
That was literally 200 times more specific than I thought it was going to be, though. When
Hey,
Well,
Chipper Jones is back, and he's up to bat in this game as well.
and you don't have to be that specific if you don't want to.
I'm about to say Appalachian State in the national championship. I'm talking basketball. We're playing in Memphis. No, I'm going to take the Masters. Thought that the Masters might fall to me there. I'm going to take the Masters.
Yeah, good pick. Love the Masters. I got to go in 91, I think it was. No, 92. Would have been 92. Freddie Couples was the winner. And, I mean, it's what you expect it to be. It's one of the few things, event-wise, that I've ever been to that was everything you expected it to be before you got there.
Yeah, well, and the thing that I wanted to say, too, is that, I mean, I obviously haven't been, but having given our Ryder Cup experience of how difficult it is to position yourself and see golf, the idea of a tournament where you could be like, you know, damn near totally stationary and see a lot of golf feels like a breeze. So I'm like, oh yeah, it'd be great, you know, whatever. So that's part of the excitement there for sure.
I'm going to go with a sporting event that is not going to win me a lot of votes and is even worse as it pertains to getting to see the action, because you basically are sacrificing your ability to see any action for the purpose of seeing it in person, which is the Tour de France. I don't know. It's a bucket list. It always will be. It is. I mean, I would have put the Masters ahead of it, but not. This would be actually the first three picks would probably have been my first three. So great job by us on that. I think. I know that won't be very popular for the folks, but what a dream that would be. So, and I'm going to go with the Open Championship with my second pick. Would love to be able to go to St. Andrews, but I think any of those courses would be excellent. Uncle Rex of the pod, Uncle of the pod, was telling us a tale about not St. Andrews. You have to play off of a mat. We need to look into that. We need to look into that, because that was one of those stories that I was like, is this possible?
I don't think it's possible. I don't think it's possible for the actual Open Championship.
Well, no, I think he's talking
but
about...
it might be for just the weekly, you know, people that are going out there. I don't know.
Wait, they do in the winter months. They do. They don't allow you to hit off the grass, and you have to carry a small mat.
That's
insane.
That fits easily in the front pocket of the caddy bib.
Wow. Yeah.
Maybe Royster Memorial should do that.
Yeah.
Deerbrook needs to do that on their green. They need a rule that is you can't hit balls on the green, apparently. So
when I was in middle school, we played a batch in Rutherford that it was an automatic 2-putt when you got to the greens. That's how bad they were. And Deerbrook was not that bad, but they were inching that way. So
yeah, Deerbrook was looking like the par 3 course on the other side of the road there. Challenger 3 back in the day. It's back to me. I'm going to say one thing really quickly that I appreciated about the Ryder Cup, and it's that it's not one of those things that, even though we left Saturday feeling like we had lost, we hadn't necessarily lost. I like that kind of a thing. So like I like series, but another event that kind of fits that bill that is made up of parts of a whole is the Olympics. I would specifically love to be at a Summer Olympics, not so much the Winter Olympics, but summer is absolutely bucket list.
So the Summer Olympics is going to be in LA next time. You're interested in making that trip?
I don't know, because then you start getting into the logistics of it. And it's like, if that's going to be, there's almost this aspect of it that's like, if that's going to be my LA trip, I feel like I would want to go to LA at a time where it would be more feasible to do all of the LA things. I almost feel like ideally it would be in somewhere that I would feel okay about just coming and doing the Olympics, or going somewhere else afterward, if that makes sense.
Gotcha. All right. So next up, I'm going Super Bowl with my Cowboys. And, you know, obviously, if I spell it out like I did the Braves and the Yankees, I mean, obviously it would be the Pittsburgh Steelers, and Dallas would be winning. But again, obviously. I'm just going to say Super Bowl Cowboys against Steelers would be awesome. They've done it like 5 times, so that would be a great one. And then I'm going to finish up. I think I'm going to go U.S. Open at Pebble Beach. I think as far as that goes, that would be a tremendous bucket list item there. Pebble Beach, obviously, for all of the kind of the mystique surrounding that, is one of the most beautiful courses in the country outside of Augusta, and certainly seeing a U.S. Open would be awesome as well.
Love it. Oh, I guess it kicks back to me for my last
Yep.
pick. All right. Well, I mean, I feel like it's cheating almost a little bit to take this last pick, but I will. That's an NBA Finals Game 7 where the Hornets win, or Game 6, or Game 5, or Game 4, whichever one they're able to make it happen in. It almost feels like that should have been my first overall pick, just because it being on my bucket list even means that it will happen. Which I am hopeful, but I may be an old man by the time we get to that. But I still will take it.
All right, finish this up, D-Ray.
I am just going to admit defeat already. This is such a D-Ray draft. A game at the Big House in Michigan on my list. I think it'll be a lot of fun to do. Grew up a Michigan fan for whatever reason. Would love to go to Ann Arbor. I mean, I would pick Michigan versus Ohio State. I think that would be electric. But of all the other ones that I had, like, who am I kidding? Like, the World Cup's coming to America next year, and I'm not going to try to go to a game. So, I mean, the World Cup, I mean, going to a USA game would be fun, but it's not like something that I would spend $500 on. So, I'd love to go to Wrigley Field and see a game, but we could do that tomorrow if we really wanted to, you know? And then the only other one I had was like a Red Sox Yankees playoff game like tonight. I think that would be a really fun atmosphere to be in. But the main one that I didn't say, because I've been to, and it ended up being a nightmare, not a dream, was UNC basketball playing in a national championship game. So
Yeah.
I have done that, and it was not great. You know, it did not end well for me that year, and we won the
But
next
if you
year.
could,
So
I mean, on Dad's list though, he's outcome controlling a bit. So, like, if you wanted to outcome control, like, would you put that over a game at Michigan? That feels a little bit like a strange pick from you. I'm not gonna lie.
because I'm saying, like, you look at the end of the list, and it's like Omaha. I'd love to go to Omaha and
Yeah,
watch the College Baseball World Series, but
and you had already said that you weren't going to take the Ryder Cup here.
yeah. So
What
I
about
do
Shelby
think,
Crest, man?
yeah,
A good old Shelby Crest. Like, I feel like everybody's got to do that once.
that's right.
Well, and so maybe an interesting twist to this draft next time or in the future would be uh, top three places that you would like to have been when the Super Bowl was
Ooh,
played or the game.
that's good.
Like we were in Chapel Hill the night that Caleb Love hit the three and beat Duke and sent Duke home in the national semifinals. And we rushed Franklin Street, which was pretty cool. But it would have been awesome
Yeah.
had we been in the house for that game. It would have been awesome to have been at Cameron the night they sent Coach K home on his last game. So it would be pretty cool to go back and say, okay, I wish we had been, the night that Dave Justice hit the home run and the Braves beat the Guardians. At that time, the Cleveland Indians 1-0 and won the World Series. Tom Glavine on the mound. I got a whole slew of those. I could
You know
do.
what?
We could do a 10 round draft that night. I'm pretty sure. So, needless to say, hey, good draft tonight. You guys, you had outside looking in. D-Ray, you mentioned a couple. Michael, do you have any?
No, World Cup and Shelby Crest were the only things on my list there. Oh, and Ryder Cup. I marked out those three.
Gotcha. Well, I thought of one a little while ago that was stupid, and I was going to bring it up as an OLI, and I've already forgotten it. So,
Yeah, it's tough because, like, with basketball and football, it's like, other than the NBA Finals or the Super Bowl, there's not like one thing. There's not this one signature event. Like, I don't think any of us were going to pick Wimbledon or anything like that. I think it'd be cool to be at, but, like, not bucket list for me. So
yeah, gotcha. All right, so that's going to do it for this week's edition of Two Daves and a Mike. We'll be back with you next week, and hopefully absence will make the heart grow fonder, and we won't be as snippy with each other maybe next week. I'll see you guys. Peace.